Hi, it's Mark Bosser, producer of the Pawlik Automotive podcast, and we're here with Bernie Pawlik, Pawlik Automotive in Vancouver, 20-time winners of Best Auto Repair in Vancouver, and servicing and maintaining cars in Vancouver for 38 years. And we're talking cars. How are you doing this morning, Bernie?
Doing very well.
So today's victim, 2004 Mercedes-Benz SL500, kind of a classic Merc. That had an SRS problem. What was going on with this vehicle?
So this vehicle came to our shop. The SRS warning light on the dash was on, and that needed to be serviced and replaced. Other than that, the car was in great shape and running well, but the owner wanted that item fixed.
So what's the SRS? Super real specialness. Super real specialness.
Yeah, well, no, it's a little more boring than that. It stands for supplemental restraint system, and kind of a fancy word for the airbag system, but there's a little more to the airbag system than just the airbags. And depending on the car, of course, airbags have got more and more sophisticated and restraint systems over the years. You know, originally they just came out. There was an airbag on for the driver. That was kind of the original start to it, and then they put one in for the passenger, and then they started putting side airbags, and then of course a lot of them were a little too powerful, or they'd go off at like a small accident. People would get hurt quite badly from the airbag. So they've become very sophisticated over the years. And the other thing they've added, you know, part of the restraint system is seatbelt tensioning. So what happens when you get in a collision is that the seatbelt will actually pull tighter. I don't know, these things are all timed down to the millisecond. You know, the airbag blows off, the seatbelt tensioner pulls you back so you don't get whacked so hard, but it all kind of keeps you in place. And I mean, these things do save lives and reduce injuries drastically. So the SRS module, basically there's a warning light on. When the light's on, the system may or may not operate. So I mean, the interesting thing is you don't know whether it's going to go, whether it's not. And it's one of those strange things because you don't need it until you need it, and hopefully you never do. It'll only ever work during an accident, but if the warning light's on, the system's seen a fault and a problem.
So how did you test and diagnose this issue?
So scan tool is the way to go. We have a very good quality scan tool. It works well with Mercedes. So we scanned it and found there was no communication with the SRS module. So there was our first problem there with, whether there was anything more, we couldn't know because the scan tool wouldn't communicate. And just to be sure it wasn't a fault with our scan tool, we have other brands of scan tools. We plugged them in and there was no communication either. So the next step is to access the SRS module, which is located under the console. It's a bit of work to get to, and then test some of the key wiring components, like make sure it's got power, make sure it's grounded. And then there's a communication network called CAN. It's a controlled area network. There's some wiring to that network, and just to make sure it's actually getting the proper signals. So after doing all that lengthy testing, we verified that everything wiring-wise was good. It basically making the module the fault. So we replaced the module.
So any options available for parts for this vehicle?
Well, let's just do a quick little picture show here. So here's the SRS module. I mean, nothing fancy to look at really. It's a little box about 4 inches square. I don't even have a picture of the wiring connector, but it's got about, I'm guessing, 100 wires that go in and out of it over in this area here of the module. And it actually, there's an arrow. It actually has to be installed in a certain direction. You see it's got 3 bolts in different patterns, so you probably can't even bolt it in the wrong way if you tried. But there are accelerometers and things inside these sensors that can detect collisions and things like that. But yeah, so the repair, that's the question you're asking, is that correct?
What options? Where do you get this part from?
Yeah, so unfortunately the only option is the Mercedes dealer. You can only buy this module brand new. And you can only buy it from a Mercedes dealer. And the reason why is that once you program the module for the vehicle, you have to initialize the module through a proper scan tool. You have to set all the parameters of, what type does it have, emergency calling. Some of these cars have basically if the airbag goes off, it'll call a call center somewhere and alert them that your car's been in a collision. It's kind of like GM OnStar it'll do that. So does the car have that option? Does it have knee airbags? These are some of the things, these are some of the questions that are asked when you program the module. But once you put the VIN number in the vehicle, once you initialize it for the car, it's basically locked in and you cannot change it and put it in another car. which in my opinion is absolutely ridiculous. That you can't take a used module, reprogram it for something else. But for some reason in Mercedes wisdom, they've decided that once you lock it into the car, it'll only work on that car and never on anything else. I can talk about this a little more because I think to myself, why would they do such a thing? It's like, on the goods, if we think of Mercedes on the good side, they don't want anyone to screw something up. Like they want the system to be 100% reliable for that car. So you buy this fine German quality car and you know that it's going to never give you put the right part in it and it's going to function as advertised. Whereas if you were to take a used one, maybe there's a risk that it wouldn't be programmed properly. From that point of view, I can see why they do that. But, from a perspective of waste, when you think of all the cars out there that probably use the same module, there's hundreds of thousands of them sitting in auto wrecking yards right now. And their only fate is just to be disposed of or recycled because you can't use it in another car. And why wouldn't you? And it should be so simple to just erase the programming, redo it. Before we initialized it, I had actually put a couple of, I said it had a knee airbag when the car actually didn't, and it said an error code and it wouldn't allow me to program it. So the car's actually smart enough to actually tell you what to put in the module. So, anyways, that's my little rant about this particular module. But unfortunately, it makes for quite an expensive repair as opposed to what it could be, just because you have to buy the module new.
So this car is getting on over 15 years, basically, but it's really a nice model. Is it worth hanging on to?
Well, this one certainly is. Believe it or not, this vehicle we worked on has actually only got 14,000 kilometers on it. And if you put that into miles, I think that's like 8,000 or 9,000 miles. It's like a brand new car. And it actually, in fact, it was amazing driving it because it really was as tight of a feel as a brand new car. It was beautiful. And, the owner of this vehicle apparently had previously passed away and the car sat in a garage for 10 years. One of those kind of, neat stories. But this one was great. But these are complex cars. There's a lot that can go wrong with them. So, you just need to be prepared going, hey, it's a nice car. You can buy it for a very good price. These cars, because they tend to depreciate nicely, but you will have to, over time, you'll spend a lot of money repairing it. This module job was a couple thousand Canadian dollars by the time by the time we diagnosed it, replaced the part, reprogrammed it, and did everything that needed to be done. So it's a pretty pricey repair, but something that the owner will never need. They'll never need to do that again. But there'll be something else. So you could probably count on spending $2,000 to $4,000 or more a year to maintain this car if you drive it around.
So there you go. If you're looking for Mercedes repairs in Vancouver, the guys to see are Pawlik Automotive. You can reach them at 604-327-7112 to book your appointment. You have to book ahead. They're really busy. Or check out the website, pawlikautomotive.com. Pawlik Auto Repair is our YouTube channel. Got that mixed up really well. And of course, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We really appreciate it. And thank you, Bernie.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you for watching and listening. We really appreciate it.